Producer price index comes in real hot, absolutely smacking down the market. How is Bitcoin responding to that as well as the miners? Let's get into that today. Wholesale inflation rose by 0.6%. That is actually huge considering that I believe the estimate, yeah, it's down here. The estimate was 0.03% for the day, and that was the headline one. The core actually came in at 0.3% compared to an estimate of 0.2. So that's still significantly higher than they were expecting that to come in as well. The year-over-year headline index was 1.6 increase, which is the biggest since September of last year. So that is showing things are accelerating. That is largely due to a large increase in energy costs since the last few months. So that is what is going on with PPI. That is absolutely destroying the market today. How is Bitcoin reacting? Honestly, not too bad. It's really not so bad for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's holding. This is the 30-minute one, right? This is when the news came out. It was on this candle right here at 6:30. Well, actually, it came out a little bit earlier than that. It came out about here. Came out here on this candle right here, 5:30. Sorry, and then it dropped from 72.8 down to 71.4. So like $1,400 or so, and it's already recovering from that. On the daily, we're still inside the previous bar. Like we didn't even get the wick didn't even go to the bottom of yesterday's bottom. So Bitcoin is like, I don't care. Inflation, who cares? I'm a finite asset in a world with lots of demand for me. Bitcoin go up. So that's what's going on there. I mean, it's down today, but like Bitcoin's not, it doesn't care. CleanSpark, on the other hand, does care. Cares a lot. We're down 9% today. We came all the way back down to this $15 mark, just kissed it and then bounced off of that again. I really feeling like the fact that 15 held in this scenario, that we're probably not going to go below 15. Now, could be wrong. Absolutely could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. I do see that there is a bit of divergence here with a higher RSI and a lower price. That's interesting. So that actually RSI that's a bullish RSI divergence, meaning that if we were to break this downward trend, we'll probably see a much larger uptrend, and that'd be very attractive for CleanSpark in the near future. But I'm quite happy with this move down to 15. Hits the 15 and then just starts moving back up from there. We'll see. I mean, we have to see conclusion here, but this looks good. Let's see how Marathon reacted to this. Marathon, oh, oh yeah. No, Marathon went under 20. I actually had a buy order at just under 19 that triggered this morning in this free fall, and I am down $200 on that already. That's okay. I also had some calls that I bought early in the week, right before this little pop here. Should have sold them yesterday. Oh well, what can you do? Hindsight's 2020. We're probably going to come into, honestly, we're going to fill this gap. Did we already fill this gap? No, we didn't. We're probably going to fill this gap. Honestly, we're going to fill this gap. We're going to go down to 17.50, maybe 16 bucks on Marathon. Marathon's actually pretty attractive at that price. Even though it's been showing a lot of weakness overall lately, that is actually a pretty attractive area to pick up Marathon. What does the day look like? The day is probably just a nice big long red boy. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. We did a little gap down. So instead of a gap up and go, we're doing a gap down and drop. Yeah, just a few more points down and we'll be filling this gap. I feel like once we fill this gap, we get into this area of support here. It's probably going to start wanting to turn around and go back up. Just like I've mentioned many times before on the weekly chart, we need to stay above 1461 on Marathon for this weekly chart to remain bullish with a higher high, higher low pattern. So we are definitely watching for that. And this is really all just PPI information coming out. I mean, Mara's down also 8.5%. Let's take a look at RIOT. I haven't looked at RIOT in a while. I apologize for that. I should be looking at it more frequently. I'm looking at it today. So, yeah, here's RIOT. RIOT got all the way down to $11 today. RIOT, actually, I wanted to make a full video about RIOT, but this is going to take precedence since this news came in and is pretty bad. RIOT, honestly, RIOT's pretty attractive right here. It's looking a lot like CleanSpark with this this shelf area right here around $11 that it is holding. We might come back just test 10 before going back up again on this chart. We do have a little bit of room to fall here on the RIOT chart. As long as we stay above 970, this doesn't become a double top. If it does get under 970, then we're likely falling down to 5, which would be quite dramatic on RIOT. Actually, that'd be really harsh. I don't see it necessarily, though. We are at the bottom of support right now, so that is also like all of these are at the bottom of support. Right? It's actually only down 6% today, so that's not super, super, super bad. But this is the weekly, and yeah, it's not looking terrible. It's not looking great. It is. Let's see here. How do the daily look? How do we look? Came just right to, yeah, 1086, and then just and started retracing that a little bit. Yeah, we got that head and shoulders and that double top. This chart looks a lot like Mara, a lot like Bitfarms, a lot like a lot of the others. One thing I did want to point out on the weekly that I just noticed is that we are making a lower high, lower low pattern here so far. Not really, not 100%. So we had a high in July 2023 of 2076. And then in December, we only got to a high of 1888. And then just now in February, we only got to a high of 1842. So that's not great. That is showing a descending channel on the longer term, the larger time frame right here. So look at that. And yeah, there we go. So honestly, we could go as low, yeah, as about $7 and stay in this downward channel here. So that's not amazing news for RIOT. But if we were to turn around here and start getting up back above 13, we could go as high as 1729 before we start running into resistance of this descending channel. If we were to conquer that 1729, we will make this previous high of 20 a thing of the past. So I mean, it is now still. Sorry, it is a thing of the past, but we'll conquer that as well. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, but right now it is looking like it's in a downward descending channel. We did make a slightly higher low here, but that came in with a lower high, which could be seen as a bit of a wedge sort of thing. Like so we go like this, and yeah, and it's kind of just forming in here. That might be something that happens. In fact, I'll leave that on the chart just in case that is what happens there. Let's take a look at Bitfarms. Bitfarms, they only fell 3%. They actually held up pretty good on this. Oh, that's the weekly. Sorry, let's look at the daily. Yeah, 3%. 3%. They actually held up pretty nicely. They came right down to that 227, 228. They're getting stuck in this resistance like I've been talking about for a while. Um, they're holding pretty strong. I actually like that. That's really positive for Bitfarms. Let's look at Bit Digital real quick. Any of the Bit Digital right at the bottom of that megaphone pattern again. This is actually quite precarious here at $2.16. If we get any lower than this, if we close underneath this descending trend line that I've got here for the megaphone, that's going to be quite bad for us. We're going to come to the bottom of the support in that instance, which would take us under $2. And if that doesn't hold, then we're looking at, $1.50 potentially on Bit Digital in the coming days and weeks. So watch out for that going into the halving. We really need to stay above this area of support here at the 195 area. Really need to stay above that, otherwise things get real bearish real fast. And then I start losing a little bit of hope, but don't lose too much hope because all of this is due to the PPI. This will wash out eventually. We will start rising again once people realize this isn't that big of a deal. Like, it's not great. It means that the Fed likely is not going to cut anytime soon. They're probably not going to cut until the end of the year at the earliest at this rate. They also that has also had a big impact on TMF. I've talked about that a few times on this channel. I actually sold that this morning because with this news coming in, that means that TMF is not going up until, like I've mentioned, TMF is not going up until they do rate cuts. This news means they're not doing rate cuts anytime soon, which means if TMF isn't going up anytime soon. I don't like my capital sitting idle, so I got it out of TMF today because all of this motion here, I don't see us really going much lower, but we're also not going any higher for quite some time until we start getting some rate cuts. So I'm going to wait until we actually see some good economic data come in again before I'm thinking about getting back into TMF. For anyone that is on the bond trade, today was catastrophic for that trade, meaning our outlook for any positive news on that has been pushed way out into the future. In fact, if we look at the CME Watch Tool, CME Fed Watch Tool, I bet you it's like a 0% chance in June now. Huh? do this real quick. See, yeah, definitely not cutting in March. That went to 99%, 91% for May, June. They still putting of a rate cut. I think that's a farce. I don't see that happening unless March and May have amazing um, inflation data, which if uh, no, I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. I don't agree with this. That's fine though. I don't need to agree with it. I'm sure it'll change just like March, of 6 months ago, March thought that it was a coin flip that we'd have a rate cut by now, and today it's showing that is a 99% chance that that is not going to happen. So that's all I've got for you today. The PPI came in really, really hot. That's destroying the markets today. Is it a buy the dip opportunity? It very well may be. Of course, this is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. And with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe and have a profitable day.